Sunday Evans and Arian Moayed to Screen Spec. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. First of all, I want to congratulate you on The Courtroom. I finally got to watch it. I've been excited about it ever since its announcement, and it's every bit incredible. And just like the New York Times described the play many years ago. I want to ask you about, I know it started off as a water well production, and I'm curious to know where the idea came from, especially that this is something that, you said that it doesn't happen to a lot of immigrants specifically. So I'm interested about that.
I guess I'll jump in, Lee.
Yeah, please.
Essentially, when the children in the United States were being kind of caged at the border, there was a real kind of shift in the response that I had as a human being, as an immigrant myself, as an American, and that kind of led to this kind of exploration of trying to find what actually happens in deportation cases. And the company Waterwell, which I co-founded, and Lee Sunday Evans is the artistic director. What we did was we found this one transcript, and we took out one story of this one woman in a really kind of uniquely specific and hyper realistic way, and kind of took the transcripts of the courtroom and kind of made it what it is today. But it was really a response to what was happening in the world. We just all felt that there was an unjust, unfair way of just what is being portrayed out there. And I don't think, and a lot of that's just based on just pure ignorance. And if you can see what this one immigrant is going through, hopefully, we didn't know, as we were putting it together, but hopefully it would work out. And in this scenario, here we are talking to you.
And do you have anything to say about that, Lee?
Sure. I mean, I came into this project. Arian had already created this incredible relationship with an immigration lawyer based in Chicago, and Arian had asked him to share. Arian was reading a bunch of transcripts from a bunch of different cases, and this transcript really jumped out to Arian for, I think, a couple of really compelling reasons. And then the idea was, at first the idea was like really tenuous. We were like, gosh, can we make these transcripts into something that you could watch? But we were really interested in all the kind of strange details that happen in immigration court that kind of subvert a lot of the kind of conventions or cliches about courtroom dramas, about crime dramas, about legal dramas. And so we thought that the transcripts were actually a really interesting way. It became very central to the idea to try to capture the things about immigration court that are really distinctive and specific to the way that immigration court works. And one of those biggest things was that I didn't really understand, as someone who was born in the United States and did not have an immigration experience, that immigrants are not entitled to any kind of public defender. So if you end up needing to go into a deportation proceeding in immigration court, you are not guaranteed to have any legal representation. Is actually usually very expensive and cost prohibitive and difficult for immigrants to find legal representation. So this case that we're doing, Elizabeth Keathley has a really incredible lawyer, Richard Haynes. But I think the idea that I kind of got excited about with Arian was like really how to understand the details of immigration court through these the kind of real life details of the transcripts.
One of the things that really stuck out to me about the movie was the fact that it felt like an elaborate dance, despite the fact that there's little to no physical movement in the movie. And then I learned, Lee, that you're a choreographer, of course, and it made so much sense to me. And I think your directorial style here is really a testament to your talent. So I want you to walk us through that process.
Well, that's so kind of you to say. In the theater, I've done so many productions that have way more complicated staging and physical life. And so it was really interesting actually to think about staging this film as a dance between the people in the courtroom and the camera. And I went into the process, the collaboration with the director of photography, who's so brilliant. Her name is Daisy Zhao. And we really just talked about how to make the relationship of the people in this small, very small courtroom space as dynamic as possible. And Arian and I actually sat in immigration court in downtown New York City when we were first making the play, and we were really struck by how small those rooms are. So we really wanted to capture the smallness of the space, and Daisy and I thought a lot about like where the camera is in relationship to the actors to communicate that. But there's also an interesting thing where the courtroom is full of all of these like really complicated triangles. So there's like someone, Elizabeth Keathley or John, are sitting on the stand, and then their dialogue with one of the lawyers, but their audience is kind of the judge actually. So there's an interesting triangle between the person who's being questioned, the lawyer, and the judge. And then that keeps shifting depending on where the lawyer is, who's on the stand. And so Daisy and I actually worked a lot of our prep for the camera work was about how to use the kind of dynamism of those angles to keep the courtroom footage from feeling too much like just a tennis game going back and forth between two people, which I think is one of the really big challenges of doing a courtroom drama. So that's a few thoughts about that.
Yeah. I want to move on next to Kristin Villanueva. Like, she's the star of the movie, and I really admire the way that she portrayed Elizabeth, because I feel like in roles like this, like most actors tend to lean on the like broken English aspect, like for laughs, despite the seriousness of the situation. But I felt that she portrayed that like very professionally, very well. So I want to know more about the casting process.
Well, I'll just jump in quickly and say that I have a really dear, very old collaborator who's like a very trusted partner for me, which is this actress named Stacey Yen. And I wrote to Stacey and I said, we're looking to cast a Filipina actress specifically because of the complexities of this role and the specifically the kind of dynamics around language and translation that are in the beginning. We felt like it was really important to work with an actress who was Filipina. And Stacey, as a brilliant actress herself, I felt like she would recommend someone who was really great. And so she, in this like beautiful kind of generosity between actors, recommended Kristin. She said she'd be absolutely dynamite. And Stacey was totally right. So Arian and I just like are crazy in love with Kristin, and we think she's so absolutely remarkable. And we really built the piece with her. So the process of making the theater production is deeply collaborative, and really a lot of the story choices and even the small questions about edits and things in the script are really, really influenced by Kristin's perspective and her point of view and the story she wanted to tell and how she wanted Elizabeth to be portrayed. And she's a brilliant thinker and a really brilliant artist. And I think that a lot about the story, not just her performance, is like a testament to how she felt that Elizabeth and Elizabeth's story should be represented, which Arian and I took really seriously and felt like was a really important part of the process.
And to be honest, we kind of struck, I mean, it was just fate, because when a little bit of it is when I was reading the transcripts, part of the reason why I was even interested in the story was because of this language conversation in the beginning, which happens to my mom still to this day, where they're just like talking around her if she can, and and that was really, that needs a special actor.
Mm-hmm.
That needs someone that can understand the nuance of it and yet not overdo it. Or it's because in those situations, I remember my mom saying, when there was moments of conflict and all of a sudden it was like all of the English words in her head were just taken away. She's like, I have no more words in English. And you need an actor that can really show that. And yeah, Kristin's got it. She's got it all.
She's so amazing.
Yeah. So special. And like every take, there's this amazing moment that happens in the first act, and every take she brought full fire, right? Like every take, it was just, and it felt, she's an immigrant herself. It felt real. It felt, she understood it. So anyway, love to Kristin.
It's interesting that you said that, because like this was exactly my experience as a viewer. Like English isn't my first language, but I've been learning it like all my life. But it's still like I still have these moments sometimes where I just some sort of like blank out, and I really can't like communicate just because like of pure anxiety. Because you can tell that Elizabeth, her English is not bad. Her English is good. But it was still like the anxiety of like, even when they're like taking recess, we don't see the entire like 5 or 10 minutes, but like you can feel every single beat happen. And like, I think that's really a testament to like, Kristin, of course.
Yeah,
absolutely. To have to go through a deportation proceeding where your whole life is on the line, your family's like existence and home base is on the line. So you're under like unfathomable amounts of pressure. And to be doing that in your second language, no matter how long you've been speaking it, is so extraordinarily complicated and unfair that would be at all any expectation. And I think one thing that's really interesting about that conversation is no one is exactly putting up a barrier to her. Like no one is exactly saying you can't have it, but there's all of this pressure to present as someone who could do it in English. And I feel like that is such a, it's something we just need to like wrestle with as a culture of like, why does that have so much value? Why is she being put in that position of feeling like she has to worry about how her perception of English is like going to influence the judge? It's just a really complicated moment.
Speaking of the play, I want to like the biggest or like most significant changes that you have to make between the play or the movie, like if there are any.
Lee, you're gonna have to help me out a little bit. Oh, when you have the whole thing written out in a play, you basically are just doing one set, right? And you're just the whole time, all three of these courtrooms, quote unquote, all three of these courtrooms are essentially different locations, but you're just seeing one place. And because of that, there was a lot of things. And also when we were touring the show, what Waterwell was doing was trying to like put it in places that look like courtrooms. And so we would have some devices that were helpful and some that weren't helpful. But there were these transitional moments that actually happened on the day, like the fire alarm that happens in the beginning of the second trial. That I was like, we can't really do that in a courtroom. You know what I mean? When we were performing it, it wasn't in theaters. It was in actual spaces where law is happening. And so in a way, we couldn't ever do that in a theatrical version. But I don't know why, but it always was so fascinating to me that in the middle of this life and death case, a fire alarm goes off and no one leaves the building, and so something like that was a big kind of moment for me to like put that in. And Lee and I kind of like worked that kind of whole idea of like, how do we get this moment to kind of jump in? Also because right at the moment where you think you're just popping into another trial, another piece of chaos is happening in these courtrooms. In the first trial, that one guy that comes in and is getting the printer paper in the middle of the case, remember that? And then in the second trial, an alarm goes off. It's like, why can't anything just cool down for a second? I thought all that was fascinating, and that was a kind of a little bit of a change. And in the writing of it, I think I definitely felt I made, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, I might have made some more acting choices in there once in a blue moon in the script. I might have like given more like this, but not much though. I don't know if you remember that at all.
Yeah, I think, so many of the actors were part of the theater production. And so we really carried so much forward from the theater production. But I think the biggest thing is what Arian is saying is that the theater production, we performed in active courtrooms in New York City. So there's no stage transitions, there's no set that's being built. We're actually performing in a real courtroom. And so I think the film gave us this amazing opportunity, particularly with immigration court, to really design and visually capture some of what immigration court was like. And that was one of the reasons why we felt like it was actually really important to do it as a film, again, because immigration court doesn't look like what I expect court to look like. Those rooms feel more like conference rooms than they do a courtroom. They feel very makeshift, and they have, these drop ceilings with fluorescent lighting. They don't feel like they subvert these expectations of what courtrooms would look like, both in terms of kind of like the cultural ideas of courtrooms, and also, in real life, if you've ever been in a courtroom, they have a little bit more majesty to them, or grandeur, or even just kind of formality, even if they're not grand. And immigration courtrooms were the exact opposite. And I think that was really interesting.
That was huge.
Exciting to capture in the film.
Yeah, in the film production, I think what we did was we actually gave everyone like a little program. And on one side, we showed a picture of what the courtroom that you saw in the courtroom looks like, just to give you an idea and so the movie version of that really executes that in such a kind of just like a painfully honest way. It's so beautifully kind of designed and very realistic.
Okay, there was a point in the movie where I didn't really know if it was going to get a happy or a sad ending. And without spoilers, I want to know if there was any point during the pre-production process where you wanted to change something about the direction or the script and decided not to eventually? Because I know this is a real story, obviously, but
I mean, I'll offer a thought, which is that I think it is really good to not give away the ending, and kind of give away I guess two things to say. One is that it actually was really amazing to watch how, the transcripts and the real life story have actually an incredible dramatic structure that follows kind of some of the things you would look for when you're writing a screenplay about where the conflict and the drama plays out, and kind of when you feel you hit rock bottom and things like that. And it was really amazing to watch how Arian kind of crafted the edit and the arrangement of these really, really dense, complicated transcripts into kind of bringing out this really potent journey that I think is ultimately very surprising in really interesting, complicated ways. So I think that the journey, the kind of structure of the story was a really smart choice in terms of what case Arian was drawn to wanting to do for this project. And it was really exciting as a director to have that, be able to kind of chart the ride of that journey for the audience, and what I hope is the most kind of unexpected, surprising way of living through it.
Yeah. Okay, Arian, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is way stranger and more powerful than the fiction. It's just a powerful tool. And I think the collaboration with Lee and I and Waterwell and the stage production into this movie is a testament that the truth will really just be the real link to our society. And I don't know, there is, when I was looking at other cases, the majority of the other cases actually in my mind were very a lot of DUI, drunk drinking under the influence, DUIs, and there was one case that was it's the 7th DUI, and I was actually no, you can't have 7 DUIs. No, you can't do this. And so a lot of them were so easy, but in this case, Elizabeth, the way that she heard her truth, that moment where in the transcripts we all read, like it said, do you want a tissue? And in the transcripts, it doesn't say she's crying. It says, do you want a tissue? And then it says, after she says, do you want a tissue? It says, no, she'll be fine. Just give it a second, or something like that. And I thought that truth was, I think we all think that truth is more powerful than us trying to make believe. And in her scenario, the ending is a testament of a lot of things. Complicated, messy, but I think overall satisfying.
Yeah.
And the last thing to say quickly about the transcript is that Arian and I really hope that this is a project that would engage people from a lot of different like political backgrounds or political point of views.
Yeah.
And the transcripts give it a certain amount of objectivity that we hope has some merit in terms of creating some discussion on a really, what immigration it can be like such a volatile issue. So that's the other reason why sticking to the transcripts was really important to us.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is for Arian. I know a lot of the script was taken verbatim for court proceedings, but I'm curious to know what you brought from your own experience as an immigrant.
I think as in America right now, there's so much anti-immigrant behavior and anti-immigrant sentiments and words. The Asian community is being threatened and or abused and or killed at times. I mean, it's a lot of, to be honest with you, it's really a chaotic place in our society where people that have gone through extreme measures to come to this country to give their family a chance at something are being, and then bettering society here, and then all of a sudden being hated for is really just, I have to believe is a product of massive ignorance. And to me, Elizabeth Keathley, she is bringing to this story a case of she's doing all the right things, she's trying her hardest, she's an upstanding citizen in her community. Why is this happening to her? Why do we have to do this to her? And I feel if we can empathize and understand more people that are completely opposite to what you may be, you are Egyptian. I think if more people just knew more Egyptians and stories about Egyptians and stories of Egyptian beauty and fear and joy and love, and hey, I think people would know more about Egyptians and love it. I mean, it's just I have to believe that the hate that's out there is from extreme ignorance, and I think a piece like The Courtroom is a way to combat that. I mean, that's kind of what the hope is. I mean, it's grandiose, it's really big thinking, but I think that's what we're trying to do, right, Lee? I mean, that's really kind of like the crux of it. Hit them, go for it. We'll go fast.
Okay, perfect. This is the third movie that you've written after Overdue and 10 Days. And of course, this is your second Tribeca movie. So I want to, this is your first feature now at Tribeca, first full feature. So I want to know how this experience has been.
I'm gonna start for myself and say it's super rewarding. It just feels, I just feel so honored to work with Lee. I just feel so honored about the whole thing. And I'm just glad that people get to see the story. But for Lee, this is her first, Lee, you should speak. This is your first, debut, your feature debut. Crazy.
Yeah, I've never directed a film before, so this is an amazing experience. And to collaborate with Arian on it has been such an amazing joy, because it's Arian and I have been friends for a dozen years, so to have a really, really close friend where you can then also push each other so hard to make something really ambitious and complicated is such a special experience. And then just doing the film festival kind of in our hometown in New York is really, really special. We're so rooted here and we're so dedicated to, kind of what New York City is in terms of kind of the cultural life. And so we are just having a really amazing time, like getting to be part of this festival and rooted here and be part of like just such an incredible array of incredible films. Like I'm so excited to see more of the films in the festival.
Same.
Yeah, unfortunately, our time is running out. So I have one final question. This is called the lightning round question, which is a thing we do at Screen Spec, where we ask an entirely random question just to end on a fun note. My question is, if you could star in the remake of any romantic comedy, what would it be and why?
Any romantic comedy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Lee?
Oh my gosh. I'll say if I could like make a remake of any film, even though it's like completely perfect, so I don't know why you would do this, I would like I would do like a contemporary version of Singing in the Rain.
Oh, God, amazing.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think it would be Breakfast at Tiffany's. I think I have something to say about all that.
I have a poster right here.
What?
Yeah. Very, very there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love both. Yeah, I love both of them. I love the original. I will just say, I think there's like an adaptation of that I think is really healthy and really cool.
Well, thanks for giving us our next project idea.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait. We're big fans of the romantic comedy at Screen Spec, so.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing, and I love the movie. That's it. Really, just so grateful I got to have this chance and that I got to watch the movie from all the way from Egypt. Just grateful all around. Thank you.
Thank you
my
so
love.
much. Thank you.